All right, hey everyone. Welcome to the next show, training episode, whatever you want to call it. I think I got a little more technology now. I set it up quickly on my computer. You can kind of see me. What's up? Again, I'm Andrew. Today we're going to go over the transition in life before you get out and once you get out, kind of. So please stay till the end. Hopefully you guys like it, and yeah. So before getting out, or you're deciding to get out, there is a lot to think about, go over, unless you're like me and you just kind of you get forced through IDES, the medical discharge process. But some steps that you can take to help smooth out that process: take TAPS as many times as you can. There's no limit to the amount of times you can take it. I know shirts and commanders might not be happy to be losing you for that 1-2 weeks every year. However, they can't really stop you. Even my instructors, when I went through, they recommended taking it multiple times. They toss so much info at you that you can't retain it all in just one class. There's stuff that you can pick up the next class and you keep learning and you build. That's why I think that TAPS, or at least the information in it, should be taught multiple times throughout a career. So hopefully that's something that will change in the future. If it was my choice, which it isn't, it would be. Now look at the job market before you get out. Are you going to stay in your career field? Are you going to branch into something new? Are you going to start your own business? A lot of TAPS classes do offer another Boots to Business, which is done by the Small Business Association. But are you going to stay in your career field? I know with ammo, there are military contracting that they have, and I did with DynCorp for a little bit. If you're ammo watching this, I would recommend going to MS2 and not DynCorp. Are you going to branch into something new, or let's go back to your career field? Look at it as a whole when you're going into the civilian process. If you worked in like a storage office, you know logistics, transportation. Don't narrow it down to just, oh, I know how to move explosives, or I know how to put explosives onto a plane. Look at the bigger picture. Are you going to branch into something new? Is this going to require training, certification? Use TA while you've got it. It's a great tool. Next, think about location. Are you going to stay in the local area or move someplace new? Or research the area. If you're going to stay in the area, you're already living in a place. So really you just need to kind of find the job market there. Are you going to move to someplace new? Are you going to move back in with mom and pop? I mean, that's a choice, but who wants to do that for an unknown amount of time? So think about the location, where you want to move to. And heck, you're out of the military at this point. You can move tomorrow if you wanted. You don't need PCS orders or anything. Once you're out, it's heck, I've moved a couple times since I've been out just because I got sick of an area. And right now I'm going to school at UNLV, so I'm living in Vegas. I'll probably be moving within the next year. And then school, if you're going to use your GI Bill, which is great. I'm going to go over some GI Bill stuff in another slide or in another show. But the time frame isn't the same as in the military when you're using TA. Literally apply at the end of January for a February class. I applied for UNLV in December, and the earliest I could take classes was the summer semester of last year. So always think about the time frames. All right. Now I'm going to quickly go over IDES and the process, um, but we're going to go over this more in depth because this is another topic or one topic that really only applies to one group of people. So really, and this can apply to everyone, make sure you get copies of all your documentation. But if you're in the IDES process, make sure you get them from your Pueblo. There's a lot of Pueblos that's not their normal job. They just randomly applied for it and got it because they were a retired senior or retired chief. They really don't know what's going on. And understand your rights and timelines. The Pueblos across the Air Force break their timelines left and right. And they're set by Congress. They're supposed to be in stone. Like, I know once you get issued your rating from the VA and the Air Force that kind of says, hey, you're at 20%, so you're under 30, you're going to get medically discharged, and you sign that paper, they have like 30 days to get that routed through all the offices on base. It doesn't matter if one commander's on leave or the group commander for medical, for the med group, is busy. No, they have to sign it. There is timelines. And Pueblos will, because they're prior military, they'll try to be like, oh, well, I don't want to interrupt them or tell them, hey, you have to sign this. Well, guess what? They have to. Make a pro and con list of if you're going to fight the IDES. If you're over 30%, you'll get a retirement. If you're under 30%, you'll get a medical discharge. But you can argue, like, hey, if you're at 10%, fight it to stay down, and then you can stay in the military. Or if you're at 20%, you can fight to get it increased to get that retirement. But it's not always good. I'll go over this in the IDES slides that I do later. Retirement is not what everyone thinks it is. If you're at 15 years like me, I made off like a bandit getting the medical discharge instead of retirement. I'm at 100%. I get base access anyway, so the only thing I don't get is TRICARE, but I get the VA full health care anyway. So my health care is still covered, including family if I ever get remarried. So just some things to think about. So what can you do while you're still in? Get all your medical conditions documented. When I joined early 2000s, it was still the mindset of don't get too many conditions documented because you'll get med boarded. I mean, it ended up getting me med boarded anyway. But make sure your medical conditions are documented. When you get out and go to the VA, the first thing they're going to do is look at your records. If you're trying to claim a condition that you didn't get seen once for in the military, you're going to be fighting hard to get that service connected. Retain copies of all your certificates and training. CPR transfers out into the real world. HASDEC, if you work like in ammo or transportation, LRS, being HASDEC certified, you can go work for like a fuel shipping company, any shipping company really. Make sure your VMET is updated. Your VMET, I know with the Air Force, it was on the portal, you could get to it, but make sure it's all updated with your classes that you've taken and documented. And again, make sure your medical records are accurate. I've gone back through my actual medical records, not what you see on TRICARE online, but actually go to the med group and get a copy of your records, you'll see notes in there that you never knew about. Create a running budget. This is kind of simple. Make sure you know what you have in savings, investments, know what you're going to lose money wise, and have a rough game plan. I'm not saying you have to have a solid in stone, because you're still in right now. There's so many curveballs that could hit you, but kind of know what you want to do. Otherwise, you're going to get out, move back in with mom and dad or family, and then you're going to sit there for a while. Have a game plan, even if it's just, hey, once I get out, I'm going to go to Colorado, smoke some weed, whatever. I mean, I did it in Nevada. I loved it. I mean, that's one reason why I chose UNLV. But it's a game plan. Translate your skills while you're in. Just because, let's say, you worked up to a section chief or shop chief level, you don't want to say you were a shop chief to a civilian. They're going to have no clue what that means. However, first line supervisor, shift manager, shift supervisor, start looking at those equivalated skills to the civilian and start networking. Get into the local communities where you're at. Volunteer. Get to know the business players. A great tool that I used before TAPS, and they used in TAPS while I went through, was LinkedIn. Just start networking. Get to know people. There's companies do love to hire prior military, so just put yourself out there. Get to know people. And it's not saying, hey, get to know someone just because you're going to try to get a job with them. They might know a job opening that fits you perfectly, and all you did was talk to them once. And keep a running resume and contact list. I mean, your resume is going to kind of be like your EPRs, but that contact list, if you worked with a master or senior, or even just friends while you were in, that would give you a good reference, employee reference, keep them in your Rolodex. Just so that when the time comes, if you need to have some contacts, be able to say, hey, you can contact X, Y, and Z, they're going to give you good reference points. Don't use, or let them know. Because if they don't know, we're all in the military. If I get a phone call from one of my buddies and I don't know that he's applying for a high position, and someone just calls asking, hey, how was he over in Korea? Oh, me and him drank all the time, partied it up. Mentioned something about juicy slaying. Might not go over well. But if I know that he used me as a reference, and someone calls and says, hey, we're just looking to find out some info about this person. Oh yeah, he's a great worker, great leader, mentor. You start dropping those key words that employers want to hear. Life. Life isn't always greener on the other side. Just remember that. Freedom is great, but don't forget your friends that you forged while you were in the service. I still talk to a group that I was deployed with. They all worked for me over in Kuwait, and we still have our Facebook chat about once a month. That everyone will toss something on there. I still have one of my best, closest friends that I consider a brother, who's helped me kind of go through some of the slides. We toss info back and forth. We helped each other out through the YDES process. Because when you're choosing to get out, no one knows what you're going through except other veterans. Your family's great unless they're veterans, they don't really understand the mentality, the stress, what you're going through, what you're losing. Get comfortable with bragging about yourself. I know some people in the military have no problem bragging about themselves. I've worked with many egotistical people in the military, but get comfortable. Because when you go apply for a job, you're selling yourself. And start learning and putting together a elevator speech. Your 30-second pitch on who you are. And don't get discouraged. You're going to get rejection letters from job applications, or you might get hired for a job and it might not be what you thought. Don't get discouraged. Just move on to the next job, move on to the next application. Keep trucking. Use your support, family and friends to just keep hitting. Keep all your training handouts from TAPS and reference them. I mean, some of the stuff that I'm using for this is actually from my TAPS classes, from the DOL, deployment workshops. Like, I'm using all of it because it's all good info. So again, I hope if you have questions, let me know on any of this stuff. I'm going to keep posting different slides and videos to get this info out there. Hopefully people see it, like it, share it, tell people about it. If there's something you want me to go over or more in depth, toss it in the comments. Yeah, let me know.